Okay, so in terms of an overall review, you made that video a long time ago, like Batman v Superman sucks. So what do you think about it now?
No, no, no. Back then when I said sucks, I put it in quotations. I was mocking people who said it sucks.
Oh,
And then
I
I
see.
ranted about a review or a couple of reviews saying in criticisms about the movie that were easily explained in the movie.
Yeah.
So I like the movie. I've always loved the movie, especially the Ultimate Edition.
So you like the Ultimate Edition more. I actually prefer the original cut of the film.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I remember you saying that you like the theatrical more, and I was really like, why?
Dude, I have ADHD.
Oh
Like
my
three
God.
hours, 3 hours for a movie, dude. Come on. And
Hmm.
also, I don't know, like all the things they cut, you can understand why they cut them. There's a few things like the bullet.
Yeah, the
Oh,
bullet. I didn't give a fuck about the bullet. I'm gonna be completely honest. That was the one plot line I didn't give a shit about.
yeah, for sure. But there was actually things like if you're gonna do the bullet, the part with that one girl where they go to like Star Labs or whatever,
Yeah, with
that should
yeah.
have been included. That was like a big clarifying point.
Hmm. In Star Labs was supposed to set up like Cyborg and I think the Flash, right? No, no. I don't think it was supposed to set up the Flash, but it was supposed to set up Cyborg for sure.
I mean, it would make sense if it set up the Flash. Certainly Cyborg.
I
Um,
think Flash got his powers in his little police department thing, like in the comics.
oh, interesting. Okay. Um, yeah, I think that overall BVS got a bad rap kind of for no reason. I don't know why exactly.
Yeah,
I guess just people just didn't like it. I don't know.
I don't know what it really like. Even Man of Steel, I don't even understand why that got a bad rep. Both these films are really good. Like
Yeah.
they're not like terrible films that try to offend people or try to do something that's really outrageous. That's just trying to make these heroes in a darker world. And Superman being presented in a darker light was different to see, but it wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't bad, and I also am not necessarily convinced that he was a lot different than the comics. Like at the time, the New 52 was out, and well, actually, 2016 was like the very end of the New 52.
Hmm.
But in any case, like I'm not really convinced that. I think people have this perception that Superman is always a Boy Scout in the comics, which is not true
No,
either.
yeah, even in the 70s and the 80s, starting in the 80s a little bit, he started to get much darker, and that was due to I think it was Crisis on Infinite Earths after Barry
Hmm.
died. After Barry
Hmm.
died, everything basically became much darker, and that's when the superheroes becoming more tortured and the DC becoming so dark. That's where it all came from. Was that generation, and even Superman took part of that. So Superman from like the 80s to even now, he's not really that big of a Boy Scout. He's more of a I'll do what I want when I want, and I'll protect the world at most cost. He's still the good guy, but he's still a moral character.
Yeah, and I mean, you could look at Batman 2 in the 80s. I definitely agree that Crisis on Infinite Earths had a big part to do with that. Like 1989 Batman compared to Adam West, just
Hmm.
just earlier. Like Batman up to that point was always campy, and Superman was too to some degree. But I don't know. I think like if you were to put Adam West Batman and like the very first Superman, today, it would just look stupid
Yeah,
by our standards.
it really would. Uh, all respect to that. Even during the times it was great for them because it's the 60s. Everything was kind of weird and campy. But
Hmm.
but now compared to now, it's something that people wouldn't really want to see. But another thing that I really want to talk about MBVS was the Flash cameo in the Nightmare
Dude, I
sequence.
was literally just about to
Yeah,
talk about this. Go
I
ahead.
I'm really I people always talk about how that was such a bad scene and how that was really bad and how it was really confusing and how it didn't set up things. It was setting up for a lot of things if Zack Snyder got his way.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I actually love about watching BVS is it like brings back to that time where there was so much like we were all so excited because we didn't know what was coming next.
Yeah.
And it was just a time of like optimism for a lot of DC fans, especially before BVS came out and a lot of people didn't like it. At the time, um, before BVS came out, we all anticipated everybody would love it and it would be an amazing blockbuster film, which of course we're saying like we think it was, but a lot of people didn't, which complicated things. But even then, that scene, we were like, oh my gosh, we can't wait for Justice League because this is definitely going to tie into Justice League. And then you watch Justice League and it's literally not there at all as far as I'm concerned.
It's the complete opposite of what Batman v Superman was and what Batman v Superman wanted Justice League to be. Aquaman, even the Flash looked so much darker, and that cyborg scene was it was crazy. It was really crazy. Like the way his body got it got like how was it rebuilt basically from the mother box. That was actually a good scene, and it made me more excited for Justice League than anything else in that movie.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, of course, the situation with Zack Snyder had a big part of it. I don't think WB was really behind his vision anymore after the failure of BVS, which is really disappointing. But it was also one of those things that you waited forever from March of 2016 to the very end of 2017 and kind of for nothing, because that was like the big cliffhanger that they had, and Zack in interviews was like, you'll figure out what that scene was about, and my guess is we'll never see anything about that again.
Right. Jeez, what else should we talk about? Should we talk about the Martha scene?
Well, yeah, I think there is a big difference between the original cut and the ultimate cut. I wish we got to see the Chris Stuckman cut of BVS. Unfortunately, it was never shot. It was scrapped. Hashtag release the Stuckman cut.
Yeah, release the Stuckman cut, please. Hashtag tell that to Zod snap neck.
Yeah, the Martha scene became a meme very quickly. I did not think it was a meme at the time. I didn't perceive it as a joke. Like, I think that people had this impression that everybody was like laughing at the scene because of how stupid it was. But in my theater, I watched the movie 7 times in theaters, and everybody perceived it as a very somber moment and a very reflective scene and not like a joke. So I don't know how people like took that away from it. In other words, like I never perceived that scene as like a joke, like, oh, Martha, ha ha ha, like a meme until I saw everybody posting about it on the internet,
Yeah, same thing with my theaters. Like my theaters, I always have good theaters. People always cheer in my theaters. In mine, for BVS, people actually really were pretty emotional about that moment, right? And then same thing with you. I didn't know about it until I went to Twitter. But the thing was, I understand where the people were coming from. Like the acting, in my opinion, Henry Cavill's type of delivery of that Martha, save Martha, it was kind of overdone. In a way.
Oh, for sure.
And Ben Affleck in the same thing. Like, why did you say that name? And he's like holding the spear. Like, it's kind of, overdone in a way.
Yeah.
And I understand where they're coming from. But at the moment, it was definitely a good moment. It was definitely understandable and reasonable way to get Batman and Superman to work together.
I would go so far as to say that the writing in the scene is actually brilliant because honestly, I had never made the connection that their parents have the same name. Like, I know that Martha Wayne and I know that Clark Kent's, mom's name is Martha as well, but I never made the connection that both of their parents have the same exact name. And this scene is like the first time I was like, oh, like I had this moment in my head, and I thought it was, a good moment overall, but people really just bashed it into the ground for whatever reason.
Yeah, people thought it was kind of like, rushed to get them to be friends, but I thought it was a pretty good understandable reason for them to be friends and for them to work together. And it's understandable for Batman to want to go save Martha, and he sees her as kind of like his second mother in a way.
The thing that I did think was a little odd is that he let him go save his mother, after he just tried to kill him,
Yeah,
I thought that was weird.
Superman could have easily just flown in and just killed every single one of them and then got Martha out of there in like a second.
Of course, we wanted to have a good action scene.
We wanted the best Batman scene ever. That's what we wanted. And Zack Snyder definitely gave us the best Batman fight scene.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know. What?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying in Batman movies, like the action usually isn't that great. Yeah, as much as I love The Dark Knight, like the final fight with the Joker in both 1989 Batman and in The Dark Knight Batman, it's not that great.
Yeah, it's not good.
So we never really get to see him like kicking ass of a bunch of people like
Yeah.
we see in the video games and comics.
Even the Dark Knight Rises and Bane, it was just one fight and he was getting manhandled, and it didn't really show how strong and skillful Batman was. So there was no other form of media and film that showed the strength and skill of Batman like BVS did.
Yeah, I think in the case of Dark Knight Rises, the idea is like he's old as fuck and like he hasn't been Batman for a while or whatever. So I guess that makes sense, but there's no excuse for the other Batman movies to have such mediocre action. But yeah, overall, I mean, in summary, Batman v Superman I think is a great movie. Definitely gets a bad rep for no reason. A lot of people came around to it once they saw the ultimate cut. I think a lot of people were kind of have this perception about it. They're very close-minded to it. In other words, like even in rewatching it, they're just like, "Oh, this movie sucks. I'm not gonna like it." Even when they rewatch it, and that has sort of hindered it as well.
Yeah, one of the main reasons is probably Rotten Tomatoes. It kind of just drove that perception forward about it being really bad, without it, without really showing real criticism on it, in a way.
Yeah.
It was just throwing out a percentage. It didn't really show individual reviews, which could have changed people's perspectives completely.
Yeah, for sure.